Welcome back to the next edition of Where the Rubber Meets the Road for this week. We want to pick up our conversation from where we left off last time. And I think where we were, talking about Nehemiah going to the people and the people needing to go, okay, that guy. Yes, I agree with him. Yes, I'm going to let him be our leader. Because I mean, there has to be a selection that where you say we're going to let that guy be our leader, and they did, and they threw their hearts in behind it. In fact, last week's sermon was Nehemiah 4:6, and the people, and I focused in on that segment. The people had a mind to work. Some versions say have a heart to work. Some versions said have enthusiasm. Well, you don't have enthusiasm, a heart, or put your mind to it and become agreeable unless you agree with the leadership that says, let's go do this. So we started talking about last segment, we talked about the characteristics. So you have a very unique perspective, and I think it just dawned on me last time, literally in the middle of that conversation, that I thought, wow, I want to point this to you. I think you can address some of this because of your past. So very quickly, you grew up in a ultra-conservative church. Would that be extreme conservative? Oh, you don't go past ultra, you go extreme. Okay. Lots of rules, regulations. And then we still sat back and judged you to make sure that, you were what we wanted, kind of thing, before we just agree that you're in, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. That became very uncomfortable as you're reading God's Word and you're looking at what the demands are. You're seeing that it's not the same stuff. And that's not true. I don't want to use the word Christianity because that's like using the word religion. Those words are being trashed nowadays and abused, seriously bad. So what word would we use? It's not true.
Well, I came to the realization that something was wrong.
Okay. So something's wrong. It doesn't match up to this.
And I didn't understand it. Well, even beyond this, it was wrong.
Okay. So 30 years, so you literally took a step back. You were entrenched, that'd be a good word, in a denomination.
Yeah.
Okay. You did some denominational ministry, if I remember right. Okay. So you
not with that group, I left it.
Okay. But you still have been involved in ministry, and went to a Bible college and all that, and you came to the point where you said, look, I'm not finding it. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that. And you took a step back. And so you and I, our paths have crossed. and I'm very much well aware that in my human form that I could probably somewhere down the line do something to disappoint you because I'm a human. Mm-hmm. And I'm aware of that. And you and I have come to the agreement that when you see that, just please give me a chance and tell me. Because I may be blind to my own self and not see it.
And that goes both ways.
And yes, and you have said that goes both ways. And I don't see it. And therein lies the openness of our relationship. Because I want to be that. And the enemy can use things to blind me to not be that.
When you make yourself vulnerable and real, like Nehemiah did to the king.
Yeah.
He did not know the outcome.
That's true.
When he went to work.
See, when we get a book, we read it all the way through and we know the outcome of the book, but we forget when those people are living their lives, they're at the very beginning. The pages aren't written. They have no idea what the outcome is going to be. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, he didn't know the outcome.
Right.
And that's one of the keys of being vulnerable, taking a risk and be real. You don't know the outcome. I mean, we met. I didn't know who you were.
Well, you pegged me awful fast, though.
Well, but what when I made some of the statements to you, we met down there in Vito's house.
Yep. Yeah, we happened to be at a gathering. I don't want to say it was a party because I don't want to give the idea that the horn blowers and all that kind of stuff was going. It wasn't that. It was there was a cast party. His wife, my daughter, happened to be in a cast in a play, and they brought their family members in, and it was just it was get together, really, is all it was. And you and I were sitting beside each other, and I made a couple of statements. Didn't think they were religious or spiritual in any fashion, and you looked directly at me and said, "You ever heard of a place called God's Bible School?" And I was like, what did I say that would take us there? And you just pegged me.
So when I don't know if you want to mention it, but when I said what I did, you could have turned on me if you had not been who you are.
Yeah.
If I'd had some other God's Bible School students there and I said that, or a mid-effort like that, I could have gotten chewed out, and then all Patty would have left.
Yeah, most likely.
I'd
Sure.
probably walked away.
Sure.
So looking at this thing with Nehemiah, in the hope in the big picture, what he came from the king's court with this positive treatment from the king to do this, and then
with lumber and a letter and a soldiers to protect his travels. And we kind of lose. What does it tell us? I don't ever recall in there telling us what happened to the soldiers. But I do know this, that when they started building the wall, they had to do their own defending, like there were no soldiers there. So I'm assuming they're gone at some point.
Well, I got that these soldiers were given for safe travel.
That's it. So my assumption is they went back after they delivered them. Sure.
So going back to what we're talking about, Nehemiah is this real person and understanding. I go back into when I had the counseling, and there was so much of the things that I was taught in that, where I was given, as he said, the tools, the basic facts of emotional health and being a real person, and then he made me apply it. He made me do that, and one of the things that he told me was that humanity in general have three basic needs, all of us.
Okay.
One is affection, the other is acceptance, and the third one is affirmation. And when you think about that, it really, really is important as a human to be treated like a human. Like
a human. In fact, really quick, knowing what I know about internment, encampment, incarcerating somebody, take away one of the ways to beat down a human being and to break their will is to not give them human treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that you take away from dignity. What were the things? No affirmation whatsoever, and
no acceptance.
And definitely you're rejected. No acceptance, and restrict communication, connection, human connection, all that kind of stuff. So, so looking at those qualities, we're looking at the people, and what I'm trying to see is in your case, if there's something synonymous between what you found and synonymous between what the people who decided, would that be the same stuff that the people who decided, yeah, Nehemiah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's follow you. What would, I'm looking for something similar in your story to see if that's something that we think that they're going to end up having.
Well, it was there.
Okay.
Because he, in the third chapter that you so
Sunday I had mentioned that the third chapter is very burdensome to read because of the genealogy that it uses, and it just says what sections of the wall. And so it seems to be a redundant message in there that this guy who's from this family built this section of the wall. But then it becomes, it's a huge record of what they did, is what it becomes.
So when I read that,
Yeah.
I wasn't bored by it.
A builder
Because
of sorts. You're a builder of sorts. Sure.
I saw there was that recognition
Affirmation.
by Nehemiah of the people.
And by the way, that chapter, we believe, would have been the record that Nehemiah wrote down to take back to the king. So these people are not just being recognized for the record book of Nehemiah, but Nehemiah is going to go back to the king and say, look, king, these people, I want to give them and their families the recognition. So Nehemiah, we believe he's taking it back for a record to be entered into Artaxerxes' records so that Artaxerxes knows who these families are. So he, and interestingly enough, I forgot about that's what they think that chapter is. Nehemiah's name is not in that chapter.
No. I had noticed it, but no, I'm sure.
He didn't put anywhere in there what he did. I organized these people to accomplish. There's none of that. He doesn't refer to himself anywhere in there. Huh. That's, yeah, okay, that's good.
And I did, when I read that one night, I had woke up in the night and I couldn't back to sleep, and I went out and turned the light on, and I read the first 8 or 9 chapters of Nehemiah. And I thought that was interesting, and I didn't really think about this aspect at the time because I don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But I just thought, when you read a story like this, it's not a bad thing or an odd thing to put yourself in there. And if I would have been alive at that time, I wouldn't have been Nehemiah. I would have been one of these other people.
Same here, sure.
And to think that
Not really. They wouldn't let me build anything.
well, you'd have been in someplace. And here with this,
I'd been carrying water for people.
here in this story, he recognized these people. He put their names in the record.
Yep.
He gave them affirmation for what they did.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure they felt appreciated. So those 3 words that I use there of what the human need is, he met that.
He did. He meets that.
He wasn't this overbearing person. And so now jump hinges for a minute to there in the 6th chapter where you said they had a mind to work.
Chapter 4, verse 6.
Chapter 4, yes. Yeah, got my number to turn. Why did they have a mind to work? Because of the way they were treated.
Okay.
And that's really
That's where it comes
an
from.
important thing, yes.
Are you finding that now? Because you I'm not going to get into great detail, but you've just done something so beautiful, and it's for me personally, and I appreciate it and love. If you want to know what it is, go check out Sunday service. But are you finding that, and are those motivating? Because these people are motivated, have a mind to work. Something's motivating them to do this. And how is that affecting your motivation? Is it positive? Well, I would think it would have to be, because if it was negative, you remind me of the kind of person that you would say, well, I don't need to get my nose smacked too many times and I'm out of here. Would you? Is that a fair assessment of your attitude?
Well, you mentioned about earlier about why when we met, why did this happen? I can tell you why it happened. In all seriousness, when I got out of my counseling and got a lot of things straightened out in my life because of it, the counselor told me, he says, don't hide your story. And I kind of blinked at it, because this was a new world I was living in all of a sudden because of what he said. And I said one time to him, I says, I was in this cult, and I says some very, very difficult personal things happened, and I says, now I meet you, and you give me this other aspect. And of this emotional health and understanding who you are and understanding who other people are and understanding a little bit about manipulated human relationships that are wrong and unhealthy, and what it means to have an open relationship that's correct and profitable.
Just healthy.
Yes, healthy.
Healthy is all those things, sure.
And I said, I have, I got this knowledge in some sense of the Bible and that, and though as I went through, I realized it was affected to where I closed the book for a long time. And I says, where do I go to find somebody to put this together? And I'm going to be very vulnerable here. But he looked at me square in the face, and he said, Sam, he says, I have never met or known a man that's more qualified to do that than you. Now, that was not what I wanted to hear, but that's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So I had said to myself,
now, he did tell you the main reason for that is because it's your story.
yes.
Okay.
And
nobody else can tell your story.
No. And he knew a lot about what he was teaching me.
Sure.
And he knew he had done quite a bit of work in the Catholic Church, but he said what you came out of, what you heard, he said it blows me away. He said I don't even know what to say about it.
Yeah.
So when I said I wanted to put these two worlds together, and he says, he's told you, you're the man. And I remember just knocked me for a loop, because I had been in all of this before. I was taught that I couldn't trust myself, that almost all the time I was wrong, because I won't get into the details or the gory details, but I was a flawed person. My last name wasn't right. Or they call really seriously, I was a flawed person.
No, I've lived with that. My last name isn't right. Yeah.
So I had even said to my wife now that a couple of times I said that he said that don't hide your story, and I says I don't know. I don't know what to do with that, because my employment was solitude, and I just I didn't.
Well, and for our listeners, you're a truck driver.
Yeah.
That's pretty much solitude. You in the truck.
Yeah. So
Isn't it good for mechanical things? Yeah, although they say trucks have attitudes, but.
Well, they're still machines.
That's right. That's right.
So I had this. And it was all right. I wasn't complaining. I thought, what, it didn't. So I meet you. You asked me why I'm here. I meet this man, and I took a risk, and I let him know pretty easily right up front who I am, and let the chips fall where they will. I mean, that's actually what we did.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I I found something. And it's not just Eric alone. It's not that this is the man, this is the man. No, it's not.
And we can't be there.
And I'm not going to go there.
We can't.
No.
I mean, if that becomes the thing, then we're right back to an occult.
Right back to unhealthy relationship.
Unhealthy relationship, absolutely.
But what this man, what his life represents, and what his experiences represent, and what mine did, what my life represents, where I come from. Well, we just put it like it is. It was a God thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't deny it.
So back to making that comparison then to Nehemiah, he comes walking in. So in your estimation, the idea that he didn't put on a mask, that he was still the same person when he left the king's court as when he showed up in Jerusalem. He's still the same person. But these people have never met him before, so they don't know what he was like before. So
No.
that's not an issue to them. But he's true to himself.
Yes.
That's a big factor.
Right there it is.
That's a big factor. And so, but then he also has this thing called boldness. You know, at the end of chapter 2 or middle of chapter, wherever, chapter 2, he goes out and he starts writing along the wall and starts looking at the wall and the whole reason why he got there. And after he got done with his horse, riding the whole wall and going all the way around the city of David where the wall was, he gets them all together and says, here it is, guys. I'm here. I brought stuff. We need to build this wall. Are you with me? And there's a point where their hearts had to be in it. And of course, with any of our hearts, we all end up having to make the decision. Do you finally remember when you came to terms and made the decision that this was a direction that you were going to go? Because we don't do it by happen chance. Maybe I need to come back and explore that just a little bit. Do you think there are people that just go along to go along? They really aren't in it?
Yes.
Is that a good or a bad thing? Or is it just a thing?
You know, I'll say this, very understanding and loving. I don't mean it to be harsh.
Sure.
But some of the human characteristics come in here, such as fear or just simply ignorance. That you know, some of these characteristics, it's when you're in some place and there's leadership going on and you're not getting it, take a risk and stick your neck out and say, I'm not getting it, I need help. So
Okay.
help me out. Be vulnerable with it.
So that, what you're saying tends to put you on the side of it's not a good thing to get in. You need to get in. If there's a movement, if there's a cause, if there's a leader that's saying something, check it out, know where you stand. But if your heart says, don't just be on the fence and ready to jump in and out whenever it's comfortable to you. If it's worth it, get in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if you're afraid, I mean, Eric and I, when we first met, we had a lot of conversations. We talked a lot. And yes, I know I made myself vulnerable, and if and I told him, that scares me. I mean, I just, well, you just get to the point you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. You just,
Yeah.
you open up, because
Yeah.
I found that it was a safe place that I could.
But I also never pushed you,
No.
told you what you had to do.
No, because you didn't know that.
Well,
In what sense?
but my position is you got to come to that conclusion on your own. I cannot tell you. From a pastor's point of view, I cannot tell you. I can encourage you. Come on, this is what we're going to do. Love for you to be a part of it. Jump in here. But I can't demand or dictate. I'm not a king.
No.
I'm not an emperor.
Go back to the 3 words.
Affirm, accept,
and affection.
Okay? All I can do is, and that's what I tried to do, is just love you guys.
Right.
And when I say you guys, see, to me, you're a package.
Yeah.
You have your wife, and she's just as much a part of who you are. And if I'm going to accept and love you, I need to accept and love her too, because she comes with you, right? That is a whole nother situation about leaders and ministers who have a friend or love the one spouse but won't do anything with the other. You know, I'm sorry, if I want to honor your marriage, I need to accept both of you.
So in this situation that I said about, of who I am, and I'm who I am because of my life.
Uh-huh.
And in being here and being with Eric and what he's doing, I'll just say it like it is. I had never been treated like I have been treated here in my life, in my entire life.
That's humbling. But that's not just me either,
No.
is it?
No.
There are others that are here, and our whole situation is people are freely love, and there's some good people here.
So too, I had
more than some.
I had tried right off. My wife and she had led it more than me, but on certain times of the year, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, or whatever, you kind of say, well, we should go to church today. And that was more my wife than me, because she knew where I was at. And I would say, all right, what you have in mind, and we would go someplace. And then there was one church that she did get involved a little bit, because I was on the road and I was only home a couple of times a month, and she got involved because of the situation she was in. Her son was still at home with us. And so I had a little contact, and instead of going in and finding these 3 words, I was met with criticism. I was met with a certain amount of rejection. Another place we went to, the man in charge, well, I'll just tell you like it was. We went in and sat down in the congregation, and he walked up, and there was a family there, a man and his wife, and he slapped the man on the back, and he hugged the lady, and glad you're here, so on, went to another couple, and did the same to them, and talked to them a bit. And my wife and I were sitting right there, and he walked right by us, never said a word to us. Which was all right. I mean, this is life in one sense. But when it happened 3 times in a row,
Consistently,
and I had tried to talk to him a little bit, and he just let it know that he wasn't interested in me.
So
you know what? we didn't go back. I told my wife, I says, this isn't right, and I come home, I was upset. I told her, I said, you know what? This church thing I don't need this. I can live my life and do other things on Sunday without getting all torn in a tangle. And I says, I just said, this is not for me. And she knew, and we didn't go back again. And a couple of little places we went in, there was nothing there.
So, application to Nehemiah, leaders, the way that God has designed for people to work together, leadership side. Well, I'm going to use a church-ese term here because I don't know a better term. So if you know a better term, use it. Laity side, leadership side, worker side. Maybe we'll go that way. So not just explicitly with the church. This thing, to really make it work, it comes at it from both sides. When we had David here a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Nehemiah. He came at it from a business owner's point of view and talked about leadership and employees kind of thing. So, I mean, it's that way. It doesn't matter if you're talking in church, out of church. Whenever an organization is trying to accomplish something, you have to have leadership, because if Nehemiah would have come in and been segregating with the people, well, I only like the people on the south wall.
Good example.
Those people down by the dung gate, it mentions the dung gate, right? I'm sorry, it just stinks down there. Don't like going down there. And the people who work down there are kind of funny. Okay, I mean, if he has that attitude, he is helping to perpetrate, I think that would be the right word, disunity, factionism, because he's not bringing everybody together. I mean, his job, and we see this every time that he makes a speech, every time he eggs everybody on, every time that he tries to motivate positively everybody, he does everybody. He doesn't segregate one group. And when he gave that acknowledgement, he went to every segment, every section. Everybody got acknowledgement all the way around the wall for the section that they did.
Let me make a comment about, you speak about the leader, and you're over somebody, and yet you, I forget how you said that. But remember that Nehemiah was the leader. He wouldn't do that. And yet, without knowing any more of the details, the fact his result lets me know that on one hand he was a leader, but on the other hand he was one of them, on their level. And this, we see this, and I know this is, we're trying to understand his culture and today and all this, and it's a good thing. But in a healthy relationship between people, the position of teacher and student is always there. And if it's healthy, that role needs to be reversed fairly regularly.
Okay. It's a give and take, back and forth kind of thing. Okay, gotcha.
And when you're with somebody, and this is very common in the church world, the leader is dead set that his role as a teacher is not going to be reversed. He's not learning from anybody.
Well, then you're not learning.
No. And that's not a nice place to be in. I've sat in a pastor study and try to talk to somebody.
Now you're talking, you didn't stipulate this, so let me just stipulate for that. You're talking about unhealthy.
Yes.
Okay, so in an unhealthy situation, you got a person that gets stuck in the role that I'm always teacher. Okay,
And always
take
right.
it from there.
And I'm saying there's evidence here that Nehemiah did not do that.
Right.
Not that I know the details, but I know the effect of what happened. He got the wall built. And when you meet somebody or somebody that you're with, and you walk in and you try to talk to them, and you realize you're the student and he's the teacher, and this ain't never going to change, then why sit there? Because nobody knows everything.
No, I don't see
That's
anywhere.
where you come down from the leader and be a leader. You come down to this level, and I'm sure that if these people, when he set them up, if there had to be discussion there.
I would.
He was one of them. That's why they had the mind to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the relationship that he.
Yeah, the only thing I see that Nehemiah did was organize it.
Mhm.
But he never gives anybody any instruction on how to build.
Not that we know of.
Well, it's not there. In fact, maybe one of the reasons why we don't see Nehemiah's name is because when it comes to building,
Maybe
that's just not his thing. His thing was to organize and to help protect the people. Remember, he goes on in chapter 4 or chapter 5, and he says, look, an army's coming up against us, and I don't know where on the wall they're going to attack. So I've got this guy that's walking around with me, and wherever you hear him blow the shofar, the ram's horn, everybody needs to run to that spot. That's all that he did to organize. But he's also not the lead warrior.
no.
He just, what we see him do is organize and inspire. And that kind of thing. So now that's where we're going to hold it up right there. When we come back, we're going to wrap this up for this week, where the rubber meets the road. How do we take this and apply it to our lives? That's what we got to know. So we talked a lot of philosophy. Now we need to make a difference in us. Okay. So that's going to be the point. So come back one more time and we'll pick up our conversation from there, right here on Where the Rubber Meets the Road.